Hi friends, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Amy from Neurotic Mom Bakes and I'm so happy you're here today. I'm going to revisit a recipe and tutorial that I did way in the past, about a year and a half ago. Since then, I have tweaked and perfected it a little bit more, gotten a little bit more of the science and the weight and the, just little techniques that are going to help you with the perfect macaron. Everyone wants to know how to make macarons. They are so tricky. They are so tricky that even in the best case scenario, when I do everything right, every once in a while I'll have a batch that still just doesn't work. But I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks today and the exact right measurements for the best possible chance for a really good outcome and the perfect macaron. Okay, first things first. I usually don't measure with a scale. However, with this one, you absolutely want to invest in a scale. They are not very much money. I found this at my grocery store, just like in the baking tools section. This was $10. You need to have the measurements down to the gram to make this work perfectly. So yeah, that's the first thing you're going to need to do. And I'm gonna show you, if you haven't used a scale before, I'm gonna show you how to do this. Okay, so you're gonna set the setting to grams. It goes in ounces or pounds, but I wanna do grams. And for the shell, all I'm going to need is some almond flour and some powdered sugar. Okay, so what I do is I turn it on and I'm gonna set my bowl on top, and obviously it's going to weigh the bowl out, but I'm gonna push reset to 0 once the bowl is on. Okay, you need also a strainer or a sieve because you definitely need to sift your almond flour. There's little chunks in there and it must be sifted. Anyway, you're going to start with 95 grams of the almond flour. There we go, back to 0. And there'll be little clumps in there, and I'll just get a spatula or spoon and kind of push them down in. There we go. Okay, 95 grams. Now, you will reset your scale again. Don't forget to do that. I'm going to reset to 0. And I'm going to add 180 grams of powdered sugar. There we go, 180 grams of the powdered sugar, and you're just going to set this aside. And now we're going to work on our egg whites. Of course, you're supposed to have room temperature egg whites, and I never remember, but here's my trick to getting them to room temperature quickly. All right, I have a bowl here with just very warm water, not quite hot, but pretty warm. And you really only need about 4 to 5, probably only 4 eggs. We're measuring in grams again, so I can't just say 4 egg whites. I'm gonna put 5 in there just to be safe. And I'm just gonna let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes until they are room temperature. Okay, while those eggs are warming up, let's talk about the bowl that we're going to use and the whisk attachment. What you need to do first to ensure that there is absolutely 0 fat or grease in the bowl or on the whisk is you need to get a paper towel and either white vinegar or lemon juice and completely wipe it down. This is going to give you the best chance to get the perfect egg white consistency. And any spoons you're going to use, wipe those down as well. Now I'm going to measure out 55 grams of granulated sugar. And again, turn your scale on to grams. Set this on and then reset it to 0. And I need 55 grams of granulated sugar. All right, my eggs feel right about room temperature. Make sure the bowl you're cracking them into has also been wiped down. For the egg whites, you need 110 grams of egg whites. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to crack them in a separate bowl, because if you have your egg whites here and you're almost, you have cracked like 3 of them and then you get a little piece of yolk in, you have to start all over. So crack them in a separate bowl. And then here's a tip, don't throw your egg yolks away. You can totally use those for pâte à choux dough, lemon or lime curd, which also go really well with, let's see how many grams that is, go really well with as a filling in macarons. There we go, 0 grams. Let's see what 1 egg white is. 31. 92. So this is gonna be tricky because I know I'm not gonna need a full egg white. 110, 111. 111 is gonna be good. Okay, perfect. We've got our 110 grams of egg whites, and I'm going to pour them in the bowl. Start my mixer on medium to medium high, and when it gets foamy, that's when you're going to start adding the sugar and the vanilla. All right, let me just show you this stage where you're gonna start adding the sugar. You can see all the bubbles, it's nice and foamy. Add 1/2 of a teaspoon of vanilla and then add the sugar just 1/4 of a teaspoon at a time, very, very gradually. All right, your goal for the next step is to get to soft peaks. That means that when I lift this up, it will fall, the peak will fall over. Those are still not quite even to soft peaks yet. All right, let's check again. Ooh, that's better. See how it just kind of falls over just a little bit? That's soft peaks. At this stage, if you're going to do food coloring, this is where you would add the food gel. 2 drops max. Macarons hold their color really well. However, if you want a really, really deep color, I wouldn't go with more food gel. That's gonna mess up the liquid consistency. So I would find a powdered gel. However, like I said, it holds color really well. So 2 drops. I'm going for pink this time. This is where I add my food gel, and then I'm going to mix for only 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes more until we get to the stiff peak consistency. You don't want to overbeat because that's going to mess with your macaron texture. You have to get it just there. I'll show you what that looks like. So no longer than 2 minutes after this point. Okay, you're gonna be tempted to go over. Don't go over. This is perfect. That's the stiff peaks, that's what you're going for. The other test was, someone said if you can hold the bowl over your head and it doesn't, I'm not gonna go over my head, but if it doesn't fall out, then they're ready. Okay, so that's ready. Whoops. Now, this is the next very tricky, very critical part of the macaron process. It's called macaronage or whatever. I don't know, I've only seen it spelled. But it's the method of stirring and folding until it's the exact right consistency. And I'm going to explain this to you. So I'm gonna get all of the egg whites out of this bowl. I would say of all the steps, this one is the most critical. But I'll explain it so you know exactly what you're looking for. Now, as I'm stirring, the egg whites are going to lose air, and that's what we want. And it's going to go from stiff to a little bit more runny as I am folding gently as I go along. It takes a minute to start incorporating, but I'm gently going to just fold, go around the bowl, and then through. Around the bowl, I'm gonna push it through. So the goal at this point is to knock the air, not too vigorously, but the air is going to slowly come out of those meringues as we fold it. All right, it's starting to come together. Continue to fold, make sure you get all that stuff off the bottom. Now, the stage we are looking for is when you can lift your spatula up and a ribbon of batter will be falling off and you can draw a figure 8 into the batter. Then that's when you stop. You don't mix anymore. But clearly we're not at that stage yet. It's not falling off my spatula yet. And sometimes I'll kind of spread it around the sides just to kind of knock some of the air out and then gather it around again. And you can see it's getting smoother. Kind of spread it around the sides. Bring it in again. Okay, it's dropping a little more, but we're still not there. But you can kind of see what I mean, I hope. All right, see how it's falling off the spatula? It's still not quite in the ribbon. There we go. A steady stream of that. Stop right there. You're gonna be tempted to go a little more, just stop. All right, I have my pans here prepped and ready to go. I am using parchment, however, silicone mats work great too. And there's silicone mats that have the prints in them where you can measure these little circles and get the exact same shape with all your shells. I don't have those yet. I'm just gonna eyeball it. I have a piping bag over a glass right here with a very small hole cut in the bottom. I would say between 1/4 and 1/2 inch, not too big. This batter does come out pretty quick and you want to be able to control it. There we go. Just gonna twist. I hold it upside down as I twist so it doesn't come out. And you are going to pipe small, only about 1 inch to 1.25 inches. They spread more than you think. So you don't need to pipe them huge. Not too close together either, because again, they do spread as they sit. Once I'm done with that, very important, you're gonna wanna pound the bottom or slam it on your countertop. You need to get all the air bubbles out. And then if you still see some air bubbles, get a toothpick and just kind of pop them and swirl them around to make the top smooth again. Or if there are any big holes that formed from those bubbles popping, you can just kind of smooth them over with your toothpick. Just so you get that smooth, shiny shell. And I'm going to actually do it one more time. Because you'd be surprised how many air bubbles will keep popping up. Okay, set this aside and do your next. Okay. Now it's the resting period. These need to sit out, not too long, but they need to sit out long enough to form a shell. For me, in my kind of drier climate, I have found that 25 minutes to 30 minutes is perfect for these. However, if you live in a very humid place, you may need a little bit more time to form that shell. You will know that they're ready because you can touch them and nothing, you can feel the shell on there, nothing comes off on your skin. So we're just gonna set those aside and let them do their thing. Okay, I'm so happy right now because they worked. They are perfect. I put these in a 290-degree oven. The lower temperature works better, I think. So 290 degrees for only about 12 to 14 minutes. Now, to test for doneness, I will reach inside the oven carefully and I'll find one that maybe isn't as pretty, like that one. And I will gently pick it up. If the top pulls away from the bottom, it's not ready. However, if you can pick it up and it comes off the parchment, it's ready. And you don't want any color. You want to try not to get any color on the bottom. Tiny bit of brown will be okay, but it's best if there's no color, but it's cooked through. These worked. I'm so happy. Yay. Okay, now I get a lot of questions about how do you flavor macarons. You can add a little bit of flavor to the actual shell. However, that messes with the ratios and added liquid really just doesn't work. You can add cocoa powder or strawberry powder, but I like to think of macarons as like a vanilla or white cake. They are just kind of the vessels that carry, I mean, they have the flavor and the sugar and they're good, but the flavor comes from the fillings, and there are endless possibilities for fillings. You can do a lemon curd, you can do a strawberry compote, you can do raspberry compote, you can do lime curd, you can do like a Nutella filling, you can do a chocolate ganache, I mean, you can do an Oreo buttercream. It just goes on and on and on. Any way you would flavor a cake, you can flavor a macaron. So how I generally do it is I will have a buttercream. You can flavor that any way you want, lemon or strawberry. I have just vanilla today. because I have this lemon curd that I made, and it packs such a good punch of flavor that you just only need a little bit. I do have my lemon curd recipe on my YouTube channel if you want to go check that out. It's really easy to make and really perfect for macarons and cakes. So I have a piping bag here, and I'm going to cut the tiniest hole in the bottom. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit of this lemon curd in here. Set that aside. Set both of these aside. So these are gonna be my fillings. Now, what I like to do is I like to go through and kind of match up the sizes of the shells. So I'll just kind of find two that look really, really similar, and I'll put one up, face up, and one face down. And I'll just kind of go through and do that. I mean, these are mostly the same. You'll get kind of some funky ones like that. Those are your taste tester ones that you can eat yourself. Like ones for a party or display. I try to get the best shells possible. I'm just so happy with how I got the feet on those. Like I said, they're tricky, and sometimes they just don't work out for whatever weird reason. They're so temperamental. Okay, so I've gone through and just kind of matched them up, and now we're going to fill them. I'm going to get my buttercream, and I'm just going to pipe a ring on the outside, just one little ring like that. Not quite to the edge. And then just get a little bit of that lemon curd right there in the middle. And then just gently press them together until the buttercream comes almost to the outside edge. Believe it or not, these actually taste better and have a better texture after spending a day in the refrigerator. These keep best in the fridge. You can freeze them. They will last in your fridge for 4 or 5 days, and the freezer a couple weeks, or just at room temperature on your counter for a few days. But like I said, they're best stored chilled. You can leave them just like this. There are a number of ways to dress these up. I'm just gonna show you one. I have this edible luster dust. It's different from glitter. This has a little bit more matte finish, but well, I shouldn't say that. It's still shiny, it's just not glittery. I have gold right here, and you can just like brush a little bit of gold right there over the top, just on kind of one side, or the whole thing. Just kind of dresses them up a little bit. And then I also have this in pink, which is just gonna be so, and I have kind of this like cosmetic brush. It's clean though. I'm just gonna get a little bit on my brush and just swirl it all around, and it just gives it this beautiful sheen. It's like barely there. This is called prism powder. I actually have ordered this from a sprinkle company called Fancy Sprinkles. And it's just so pretty, the way that just dresses it up. I'll just do one more. So you kind of get an idea of some different ways. You can leave them plain, you can brush some luster dust on, or you can kind of brush this glittery powder, prism powder on top for a nice finish. Okay, I need to know if this method works for you. This is like 3 or 4 times in a row that this has worked for me successfully. So I'm curious to know if it will work for you. So if you give it a try, give me some feedback in the comments. And then if you would like to see more content and tutorials like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel.